Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Haunted America. On today's episode, we have two Reddit ghost stories for you guys. One posted by Reddit user DagoBot78 and the other Wild Average. And the names of these stories are
Ghosts of the ER, Story 1.
And
Has anyone ever been sucked into a ghost memory?
these two very intriguing stories, plus our thoughts and comments on today's episode of
Haunted America.
Before we get started with the podcast, if you guys would like to get your hands on some of the same equipment we use when we're out there investigating, check out the links down below to equipment such as spirit boxes, REM pods, and EVP recorders. These are just a few of the things that can help you get started with your own investigations. We do get a small commission every time you guys use one of our links.
And please rate and review on whatever platform you're listening on. It helps the algorithm and pushes us out to newer listeners. Also, if you would like your stories read on the show as part of America's Encounters, email us at hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com. That's hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com.
Now, let's get into the show. So let's get right into it. The first story posted by Reddit user DagoBot78. Ghost Stories of the ER, Story 1. I work in a hospital and recently found out that there are all sorts of ghosts in a hospital. Well, no shit. People pass away there. But people don't talk about it because they're afraid of being labeled as crazy. Well, I'm here to talk about them.
She's crazy.
As my dog walks around on the hardwood floor. Story 1.
No,
Her tail is
Do
wagging
not
like crazy.
get
She's
in the-
interrupting the show. Chloe.
not get in the chair with me.
Chloe. Let's get right in. Story number 1. I was working a night shift in the ED as a resident. I'm taking that's emergency department.
That's what I think.
The night crew was awesome, and we cleared the place out by 2 a.m. I was sitting there with my attending, charging nurse, secretary, rad tech, and 3 nurses as well. As we all BS'd, one of the nurses had a sixth sense. Okay. Let's get right into it.
Probably.
If you will, and would talk about a little girl who would run out of room 17 and run into the med room that was between room 17 and 18. For visual sake, our ED was set up like a fishbowl back then. A large square with us in the middle, and all the rooms had one door opening to the middle. And we all sat in the fishbowl where everyone could see us, and we could see them.
On this night, it was about 3 or 3:30, and we were disbelievers of this little girl running back and forth between the rooms. Some of us, including myself, made some pretty snarky comments about it, being bullshit and ghosts don't exist. I think one of the guys was even making fun of the alleged little girl that ran back and forth, saying she should do some work if she's going to be there and hand out some meds or clean some bedpans. We all had a good laugh. Now, at that time, we're sitting in the fishbowl and we are facing rooms 9, 10, 11, with rooms 17, 18, and 1 behind us. The lights in the ED suddenly flickered. We thought it was Jimmy playing a trick on us as he was by the light switch, and he swears he did not touch the lights. Someone made a comment that was not so nice about the little girl spirit, and just then, from behind us in room 18, we heard a crashing noise, like something made of heavy plastic just fell and shattered.
We all turn around like, what the fuck? I guess we're an explicit show now, right?
Here and there.
Yeah. And we all slowly made our way to room 18. No one was behind us. No patients, no staff, no one. Just us in the fishbowl. When we got to room 18, the big 18 to 20 inch circumference plastic clock that was hanging on a nail, on the wall at the top of the room that no one could reach was on the floor. So me being one of the first people in the room yells out, "The clock fell off the wall and it's in pieces." The charge nurse was like, "Oh, those nails suck. It probably just fell off. It's just coincidence." I told him, "No, you need to come see this." The room is a rectangle with an ED bed in the middle, and the bed matches us with the shape of the room. Bed matches us with the shape of the room. What?
Yeah, what?
Short ends go north and south. Door side. Is this all doctor lingo that I just don't understand or something?
I mean, are you guys rectangle? What do you mean?
It matches us. Rectangle.
Okay.
And long ends match the walls. The clock was nailed on the east wall, high in the room. It fell off the wall. One would logically expect it to be in pieces on the floor by the east wall. The clock was actually found in pieces on the base of the west wall directly across from where it was hung up.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Long way to get there.
And there was an ED bed between us, so we know that fucker didn't roll there.
This is nurse talk.
Something had lifted it off the nail and thrown it across the room to the other wall where all the pieces were. Nothing, not one pieces, was on the east wall. Love Reddit stories.
That night we stared and tried to figure out how this damn clock got over the bed and landed across the room. The final convulsion,
Conclusion?
or otherwise known as conclusion,
Yeah.
that everyone agreed on, it was thrown by something across the room. Most of us think it was the little girl. That's the day I became less of a skeptic. Well, yeah, the fact that they told us all the stuff they said about the little girl, except for that last snarky little comment, I'm gonna guess you offended that little girl.
So before we get into our thoughts and comments really on this episode, if you guys are listening to this podcast and you think, wow, these guys really can't read a story for shit, please, give you the name of the poster and the name of the story. Go on Reddit and read these for yourself, and you will realize that not everybody has proper grammar and punctuation, and stuff is misspelt. And we get in the groove of reading and then come across a mess up and it throws us off our little groove that we're in.
I like it better to read the imperfections.
Yeah, the messed up stories. It makes it more fun.
Yeah.
So you definitely probably pissed off the little girl spirit.
I would say so.
Or there's another spirit in there that just didn't like you talking crap about spirits.
Yeah.
So one of the comments here, it's from another person that works in a hospital. Let's get right into reading this one. I worked night shift as a paramedic for a hospital-based EMS service. The hospital is a level 1 trauma center and is always busy. I had just brought a patient in with multiple gunshot wounds. No sooner had I given a verbal report to the attending physician, the patient went straight to the OR. So I'm sitting in trauma 1, which has 3 trauma bays, which are all empty except the blood and debris left over from frantic attempts to save lives.
Yes.
The only other person in the room is a nurse who is finishing up documentation. I kept getting a weird feeling that I was being watched from the upper right corner of the room where there was a metal cabinet. I kept glancing over there because I kept seeing someone sitting up on top of the cabinet near the ceiling. The nurse suddenly spoke up and said, "Yeah, I think it's the guy from Bay 2. He didn't make it, and it's felt weird here since he died. So and so.
Nurse so-and-so.
Okay, nurse so-and-so has been notified and is coming to guide him home." So she does that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean coming to guide him home. A lot of nurses believe that once a patient passes away, you open up the door or like a window or something like that to let the spirit kind of leave.
Mm-hmm.
And Chloe's going nuts.
Yeah.
Huh.
Back it off!
Oh, wow. Do you know how the ambulance themselves were haunted? What? Ambulances themselves are haunted? I guess.
Why not?
Okay. Makes sense due to the emotional trauma that goes along with physical trauma. While paramedics work towards keeping the patient alive during this ride, the victim patient is still trying to figure out how could this happen to them and why.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try to find another comment here. How can I blame you when a ghost demands you believe and throws a tizzy fit about it? Then you had better believe. Yeah, so the ghost might be the little girl might be trying to like prove, hey guys,
yeah,
I'm here type thing, and you just want to ignore it. It's gonna make its presence known whether you like it or not.
And I'm throwing this clock across the room.
Yeah, especially, I mean, even like in schools or whatever, most clocks and stuff are up to a part where like you need like a stepping stool or something like that to get up to it to change the batteries or whatever.
And for the most part, hanging clocks, sometimes it's hard to get those things even on the nail, let alone get them off.
Yeah. Let's get into the next story. So this story is posted by Reddit user Wild Average. And this one is has anyone ever been sucked into a ghost memory?
I can't say I have. I was making Christmas cookies late one night, and I, of course, was the kitchen. And I, of course, was the kitchen. All right.
Oh,
Things things started to get fuzzy, and suddenly the kitchen was different. You or the kitchen? All right. Anyway, there was no back door anymore. There was a kitchen nook, and there was a mural on the wall I had never seen before. A mom and her sons were eating breakfast. They were all talking amongst themselves, and I was asking who they were and where was I. They ignored me and kept talking to each other, and then I yelled. Still didn't react to me. I realized they couldn't hear me and calmed down. Then suddenly I was back in the modern day kitchen. Called the landlord and told him. He said, Mom wanted you to see how happy our little family was.
I am interested if anyone else has had similar experience or what this memory sharing would be called. A psychic medium friend said that she has a succubus do something similar to her to keep her away from her husband, but she didn't really have a term for it. There was a lot of paranormal events at that house, but this was one of the bigger events.
So this is typically called like a time slip. Oh, and one of the commenters puts that in there before I even read it.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
a time slip.
And let's just Google this, that way we can give a full definition.
And it's more common than you think, actually.
So, in fiction, a time slip is a plot device where a character or group of characters involuntarily and unexpectedly travel through time, often without understanding of how or why it happened.
Yeah, in fiction. How about nonfiction?
Yeah. Unlike time travel narratives where characters use technology or specific events to travel through time slips involve a sudden, unexplained shift to a different time. Well, no shit.
And, sometimes you hear this with alien abductions, same concept.
Time slip describe. Ooh, okay. Some paranormal investigators use the term time slip to describe alleged time travel experiences. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, this didn't really help at all with
No,
my
it
definition
didn't.
of a time slip.
I mean, it's
Waste
what
of
it
time.
is. That's what it is. It's not a ghost memory. I mean, I guess you can look at it that way. You can coin it as that, but it's a time slip.
If you guys are into reading, apparently there's a book called Adventures in Time that include a number of famous time slip accounts. Here on Reddit, there was a time slip category that should be archived for you to read.
Cool. Everybody's saying you experienced a time slip.
Yeah.
You experienced a time slip. That's what it was.
I've heard a couple things like this where a lot of people will be like investigating like older saloons or brothels or something like that, and they'll just like black out for a minute, and to them it feels like they went back in time and they're at the saloon or brothel when it was in its heyday, and there are people all around them walking around dressed in the clothing for that time period, all that kind of stuff. I mean, this definitely isn't something new to talk about.
No.
Many people have had experiences with this kind of stuff. This commenter says, Sis and I were cleaning out Mom's semi-hoarder house on a dark winter evening. She was washing dishes in the sink. I was sorting a cabinet on the other side of the room, had the radio on, and we noticed all the songs were from the late 60s. I went over to where the radio was to get paper towels. The radio wasn't plugged in. We headed home at that point.
They said, we out.
Huh. Okay. You want to read this comment?
Something similar happened to me several times in my grandparents' home when I was a child. The layout in the main part of the house was different, and the kitchen was smaller and open to a porch that was not there. When we were helping them move, my aunt and uncle spoke about the renovations my grandparents did before my dad was born, which explained the different layout. I asked about the kitchen, and my grandmother said a few years before I was born, they expanded the kitchen, and while she loved having more space, she really missed the porch. They all described the rooms exactly how I saw them.
Okay, really quick. Would you classify deja vu as a small like subcategory of time slipping? You could think about it, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
but that'd be like a future time slip thing, not the past.
Not
like you would be thinking.
Not necessarily. I mean, but remember, time is something created by us anyway. And if you listen to scientists, past, present, and future, all happening at the same time. So, yeah, sure. I mean, deja vu could literally be a time slip, a very quick time. Actually, and sometimes deja vu, those feelings can last, 5-10 minutes.
Ooh, okay. This comment. This will be the last one we read, and then we'll get out of here, guys.
It's a mental time slip.
I lived in a very haunted house and would often dream about the spirits in my home. One night, the girl invited me to follow her around the house and show me different memories. I was too scared and I woke myself up. A couple days later, I walked into a room and was hit with a persuasive memory that still bothers me to this day. I know the memory isn't mine because I don't recognize anyone from it, but it picked up where I was too scared to finish the spirit girl's dream. I'm still bothered by why I remember this through her.
Man, I want that kind of dream.
So I've heard about stuff like that too, where people will walk into certain parts of, I guess not necessarily a time slip, more like visions or something like that in your head going on, right? But they'll walk into like a certain part of a house or something like that, and they'll be hit with like a vision of people walking around, kind of like the same thing as a time slip, but it doesn't feel like you're actually there. You're just hit with the vision of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be considered part of a time slip too.
Like implanted memory?
Yeah, something like that. You're walking in there and a spirit puts that kind of memory into you, just like with this commenter.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to all this?
I mean, it's all kind of the same subcategories of the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. It's all like the same subcategories, like you said. It all involves the same type of interaction, I guess, right?
Yeah, one day we'll figure out what it all is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Colby.
Trying to end the episode and the dog jumps
Yeah,
out.
we're going to end the episode, okay. You really...
Oh, yep. She's up on the lap. All right, we're gonna get out of here. I am your host, Dalton Taylor.
And I'm Jess Trapasso.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode of
Haunted America.